Lakeith, let me share some of the adjectives the media has used to describe you. I find this really fascinating.
Great.
The New York Times called you the, quote, new Hollywood weird. Almost every writer describes you as mysterious. The Guardian said you were eccentric. They even posed the question, is Lakeith Stanfield the coolest actor of 2018? And I know we're in 2020, but I feel like coolness doesn't fade over a year's time, that you still have it. From eccentric to weird to nerd to all these other things, what do you make of all these descriptions and attempts to define who you are?
Maybe that's just people's desire to want to pin something down, you know? I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm never really concerned with it. In the moment, I'm just doing whatever I feel is natural. Yeah, I think there will be many ideas about how that makes people feel. I think it's just a unique position to be in, to be an actor and have this polarized viewership or whatever. But also it's unique to be a black man and an actor as well. And I think there are just so many ideas about what we think black men are, or what men are, or what women are, or whatever everyone is, that when something is outside of the confines of that, it tends to make us a bit, I don't know, interested, I guess. Like it's poke around, like poking at a dead bird or something.
Well, it's funny how there is a rush, I think, especially with people of color, definitely with black men, to kind of rush to define what it is, because, I don't know, they feel like they haven't seen this kind of black man before. I mean, maybe as other black people, we're accustomed to the different varieties that we come in, but for whatever reason, I feel like you've been sort of this rush to label you, I think is pretty interesting. And also people treating you a bit like a walking think piece, you know, because I've read that you're redefining black masculinity. Have you read that as well?
I've heard that,
Okay.
yeah.
What do you think about you being the new standard of black masculinity?
I have no idea what that actually really means deeply, but I mean, I didn't come up with the original definition, so I don't know who did. Maybe there's a book in there, like editing and updating it constantly, but I mean, I just think we don't represent that small of a minority in the country to where it seems to me that it's fantastically different what I'm doing and being than anything we've ever seen. I just think that's a testament to perhaps how uninformed we are about how many different varieties of black men there are. It's just a weird thing. I don't know, but I guess it has to do a lot with stereotypes and then, you know, what's been popularized in media and how we're usually seen and portrayed. It makes it seem like I'm doing something totally unique.
Well, you have played a variety of roles, and maybe that's why it's so hard for people to sort of pin you down and rush to fit you into some kind of archetype. I saw Uncut Gems before it hit theaters. I was lucky enough to get a screener that, as I said to you off air, I would have paid to see it anyway, just because it seemed like the kind of movie that I would enjoy, and I very much enjoyed it. You play a character, Damani, who is actually, I think, kind of a lot different than some of the characters I've seen you play before. What drew you to this particular character?
Well, I really quite like the story that the Safdies wrote, and then meeting them, I realized how much I was a fan of their style, of their raw approach to filmmaking, and it was something that I felt was unique that I hadn't seen much of before. I'd watched Good Times, and I was a big fan of their guerrilla style of going into. It almost seemed like a movie on, like a stage production in a movie, in a sense of it just being alive in the moment, and there was room for like a lot of improv and creative input, and that's how I like to do it. That's what I do in Atlanta. That's what I do on many things. I just sort of make up stuff on the fly, and it becomes a part of the fabric of the thing. So I find that to be quite fun. It's like improv games and stuff. And so, yeah, I really like their style, and so I wanted to work with them, and that was the main thing. Damani as a character is, I think, just a liaison to our greed So he kind of represents like how, that's why his name is Damani. I feel like Damani, you know, he's sort of the idea.
Damn, I didn't even think about that. Okay, Damani. All right, got it.
Yeah,
Right.
kind of. This is my theory. I don't know. They might tell you something different, but that he's a sort of connecting apparatus to our own greed and ultimately our undoing, you know.
But he's real about the greed. It's not like he's trying to act like it's anything more than what it is. Whereas even though Adam Sandler's character is gritty and in his own right, he's still a little bit more idealistic, if you will. Like if with you kind of making that comparison to how they kind of approach things. What did you think about when you read the script and knew that Adam Sandler was going to play the character that he was going to play? Were you thinking, did it at all cross your mind, like, can he? I've never seen him like this. Like, did that in itself fascinate you? It
crossed my mind that I hadn't seen him like that, but not if he was capable of doing it. You know, I'm a very like proponent of trusting the process and the struggle, and things always look like we can't do them when we first see them, and things that are worth doing. You know, it's like it's a new, unique challenge. I figure like we're taking these things because we want to push things to the next level and see what we might be able to learn from it. If we did everything that we already knew we could do, there'd be no point, and it would just be then it becomes like what I imagine it must be like to be a Marvel superhero for a long time, which is basically essentially showing up and being a model, a glorified model. At least that's how it appears to me. I've never been a Marvel character, but I like being challenged, and so when other people are faced with unique challenges, I tend to reserve judgment, and so I can see what they can do. You know,
it's been a lot of polarizing opinions about the movie itself. The critics love it. It seems like, but there is some, I guess, polarization among the audience about like how to take the film. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people aren't used to Adam Sandler being in this particular character. You may not pay attention to reviews, but how much does audience feedback actually mean to you whenever you do something?
I love engaging with the audience. I mean, that's what we're doing it for essentially, is storytelling, and so it's important to me how people connect to the material. Critics now are something different. That's something that I'm not really that concerned with. I think their focus is different. A lot of people going into movies are more just to go and engage and have a good time and exchange ideas and emotions. Critics are more concerned with other things, I think, for the most part. So, I mean, I listen to them and hear them every now and again, but I don't put too much into it. And I think you got to always rake everything that you take in terms of how people view what you do. You have to kind of like take the good, leave whatever else, because it's useless to you if it's not serving you in a positive direction. So, yeah, I just kind of, you know, I'll hear it, take it in, and just got to leave it alone at some point, you know.
I'm always, I guess maybe because I have a sports background, I'm always skeptical about athletes making that leap into film, right? Yeah. Give your honest opinion. What'd you think about Kevin Garnett?
I thought he did well.
Yeah.
I thought, especially being there on the ground with him, I thought he was doing a great job, and as for someone who had never been on a set before. And he was willing to learn, and he was taking his time with us, and he was actively even watching me in scenes and being like, okay, this is it, interesting. And it was cool to see someone that I looked up to in a field that I could never do anything with, period, have reverence for what I do in my process for it. So I thought he did an amazing job. Yeah.
And he's a fool too, in a good way. I mean that in he is one of the funniest people I think I've ever been around. So hopefully he entertained you guys with some stories, because I know he has. So.
Oh, definitely, man. Kept us rolling. You gotta have that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm not very funny. I mean,
you don't think you're funny?
I don't think so. Not really. I don't know. Maybe I am, but it ain't for me to know, I guess.
Are you one of those like unintentionally funny?
Yeah, it's always just like circumstantial, or like, I'm not a good joke teller, but it just be like, what? And then people start laughing. You know?
You seem, I'm sure a lot of people tell you this, that you seem very chill and very relaxed. It makes me wonder, like, what are you like when you're mad? Do you get mad?
I don't really get mad that often. It takes a lot to really get me there. But when I do, I imagine it's probably not fun for people.
The fact that you have to say, but when I do, I imagine, as if you have not. Like, when's the last time you were, like, legitimately
So
mad?
it's because when I'm in a rage, I'm blinded by the rage, so I'm not able to see. I wake up from the rage, and then suddenly everybody's like, bro, what the fuck? So yeah, I imagine it's crazy for them. But no, it takes a long time for me to get there because I just feel like there's so many ways to figure out your problems without jumping from 0 to 100. There's so many things that can be quelled and understood by conversation and understanding. And that's where I think we need to go first before it goes all out war. You know?
Yeah, war, interesting topic to be talking about now, especially during this particular time. You're in a business that is about kind of subjective things and validation. How do you handle that part of it? Knowing that you're always... Like the things, it's interesting to me when I hear actors talk about roles they didn't get, or even having been in rooms where people in Hollywood are discussing various roles they want to consider people for, and the reasons they may eliminate somebody or may feel like they're not right for a project. They're so subjective. It's not really about what the person can actually do, but it's about how they feel like they can do something. So how do you handle that part of it?
Well, a lot of it is political, and that I find myself at certain times at odds with because I didn't really come into this business in a conventional manner. It's just sort of like things happened in a sort of strange way, and I fell into it, and then but I knew I wanted to do and was actively working toward it. But I never did it for approval. I never wanted to be anybody's, I guess, like... good politician man or like inspirational or nothing like that. I'm just a normal person, and so but you're put into this situation where you have to now take on these responsibilities and be these things, and it could be quite strange and conflicting because on one hand it seems like you're supposed to be this beacon of hope and light for a bunch of people, but on another hand you see what happens in the business every day and what happens beyond the veil, and like how people are constantly in these messed up situations and deals, and so it makes you feel like it's all just like a veneer or a veil of fakeness, which a lot of it is. But I guess it's just growing and realizing and understanding that this business is just that, and it's something else. It isn't really your life. Because like for me, I used to think like, then that makes you want to fight against it and rail and change it because it's your thing, and you gotta, but you gotta realize it's just a job like any other job. And, you have to take the good and leave the bad. There are very positive, great things about this business and being a part of it. But there are other parts that if you're a person of integrity and self-respect that you'll need to understand you're going to have to come into contention with at some point or another. And that'll be your choice to figure out when you're going to make the decision to stand up on that. But I think you have to stand up on something. Otherwise, you're going to feel empty. And you might not ever enjoy doing the work you want to do or being around the people you want to be around or looking around and not having friend or nobody around, period, because you sort of danced your way through it without ever standing on anything. So I think it's important to always just remember where you are, where you stand and who you are. Because I remember when Get Out came out, and it was obviously very popular, and I'd be in these certain circles and there'd just be people just telling me how much they love me all the time, every day. And at some point that could draw you up into they really love me. And then, you begin to sort of float on this idea. And then you have to remember, you have to like shake it all off when you get like, slap yourself and wake back up and remember like, no, this is surface level shit. And you got to remember like where you stand and the reason why you came. And it wasn't to be fake loved by everybody. It was just to express and tell stories. And so just like we got to turn Instagram off sometime, we got to turn off the music of Hollywood.
I mean, do you ever really turn Instagram on? Because you have like 5 posts on your Instagram page.
Well, that's because I turned it off right after I turned it back on. My Instagram is kind of curated like a pond or something where you get like little drops and bleeps and like fish pop up and then go and then and that's kind of like how my thing does. So nothing really stays up for too long, So you put it up and then you take it down? Yeah. Really? Yeah.
I mean, you don't want whatever you said or whatever you posted to kind of
Well, I think permanence is weird with anything. And that's what's something that's unique about the internet. It's like there's these spots and places where things can be permanent, as if there isn't always an ever-changing You know what I mean? Like currency within life itself. So to me, it just doesn't make sense to let anything last.
I have to say, I'm surprised that you're even on social media, because you don't really seem like the type. I mean, yeah, and I mean that in a very positive way.
Yeah.
But you don't seem like somebody who necessarily would even really like social media. Am I reading this wrong?
Well,
Maybe considered a necessary evil. I don't know.
But yeah, there are many caveats.
But no, it just doesn't seem like your thing. Because even on Twitter, you have like 21 posts.
Well, Twitter, I can't do anything anymore because I used to impersonate people on Twitter. So I would.
What do you mean?
Well, I would take a photo from another person who's verified, use that as my photo, and change my name to their name. And people don't really check the handle; they'll just check the name and the check and the photo. So if I say anything, they would think that I'm actually that person.
So that's why you don't have a photo on your Twitter page.
Yeah. So I was impersonating a bunch of other people, and I got to Donald Trump at some point. So I started impersonating him. I think this was before he became a president. And I started, acting like I like Nikes and a bunch of other shoes. I was like, yo, check these Johns out, yo. You really want to check out these cool hot shoes? Check my... And then suddenly I couldn't log back in, and somebody had hacked me and took everything down, and I was quite sad.
Who else did you impersonate on Twitter?
I think I impersonated Offset, Cardi B, who else? A couple other politicians. I think... Yeah, I think Jack Black, some other people. Yeah.
Now, were you trying to sort of channel their personality or the person? Okay.
But in a joking way, like
Right.
It was just having fun, and I found it funny that people actually believe these things.
They actually thought it was them
without doing no research. They just like, yo, this is fun. It's kind of funny interacting with people.
Did any of the people you impersonated ever get mad at you?
I don't know. If they did, they never told me. I ain't got no text from Trump yet.
What was there a person that you wanted to impersonate but you didn't get a chance to or would like to?
Oh yeah, I was on a roll. I was trying to get everybody, and eventually I would have, but if it wasn't for those darn hackers.
It's interesting because Twitter is kind of the wild, wild west, and they let all kind of things go through. So it's funny that they actually caught up with you.
Yeah, I think it was because I started impersonating Trump. That's when they was like, all right, they pay attention to that type of stuff.
So you did, as you mentioned before, you did have a very non-traditional way into this business. You started off in a modeling school, or that you kind of happened upon. You weren't necessarily trying to be a model. I think you were just trying to get some opportunity, or were you actually trying to be a model?
No, I wanted to join this modeling school because I realized that every other Thursday they brought in agents. At the time, I didn't have an agent. So I figured if I could act like a model long enough, I might be able to get next to an agent. And that's exactly what happened. I went in, I learned, all these different brands they were talking about and how to walk on the runway and all this stuff that was completely boring and useless to me. But they said, this is a new agent day. The agents are coming for all the models, and you have to have 16 pages or 16 lines of something memorized in a monologue, and then you can do it for the agent, and the agent might hire you. And so I said, I got my 16. I didn't really have anything, but I wanted to get in the room. They let me in, and I didn't know what I was going to do, even up until the point where I got in. And I just jumped on the couch or something and started acting like a surfer or something and doing a bunch of different stuff and characters and I ran in his desk in his face and yelling and screaming. But I was pretending like it was something that I had memorized, but it was really just coming off of the top. And he was like, what was that? And I was like, this thing I found on the internet. And then he hired me. He signed me to his commercial agency. And this is where I would begin to learn how to start auditioning. And I never would book anything with this dude for 5 years. But I learned how to audition. I learned how terrifying it was and how to get over my own self and get better at it.
Why was it so terrifying to you?
Because I felt judged. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I felt like they knew I didn't know what I was doing. I was in a whole new world. And the room can often be intimidating. It's a room similar to this where it's just walls and a camera and some weird people looking at you. And then you have to do this thing that you really want, and you have to do it right the first time because there's a whole bunch of other people outside and they all look like you and they're all hungry and thirsty. And so, yeah, it's kind of a desperate feeling environment, so it can be intimidating. And it was for me for a long time.
So you had to, when you first wanted or thought that, acting was something that you wanted to pursue, because I think you were in drama club in high school?
Yeah.
Okay. There must have been a huge leap between what you thought acting was and what the profession was versus once you started to do it and saw what it really was. So what did you, I guess when you were in drama club, did you never think you would like audition or how much of the business did you not know about compared to what you learned?
I knew absolutely nothing. And that would be, and a lot of times I had to fall to learn. In fact, most of the times I had to fall to learn and I had to learn quick. I'm still falling, still learning about the business and like how everything works. I still don't even be thinking I'm famous or nothing. I don't think nobody knows who I am. So I have to remember. And, that's why sometimes I might get in trouble because I don't really realize that, like, oh, there's this thing. It's like, it's a thing. All right, well, I'm still downloading. I remember my first movie I did, I used to do everything, like, for real. Like, I didn't even differentiate acting from real. So if it was a scene where we had to engage physically, I might really slap the person. And that's what happened. There was a scene where I had, like, a baseball bat, and I was supposed to get mad and hit the kid with it. And thank God it was a plastic bat, but I got mad, and I was really incensed in the scene. I hit the kid, boom. And then they said, cut, cut, cut. And I was like, what? And his dad ran up. He was mad. And I was like, oh, shit, sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just into it. And he's like, well, you're fucking acting. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know what that is. So I had to learn how to do all that. Now I really pay attention to stunt coordinators and make sure I'm actively watching it.
So when they ask for you to leap off a building, you're not actually supposed to do it.
Yeah, you're not actually supposed to. Yeah.
Well, what gave you the idea that this could be something that you would be good at? Like, how did you know this is something you should pursue for real?
I don't know. I guess it was just in me or something. I guess I just kind of saw what it was and like realized that I might be able to play in that manner. Well, ever since I was young, I used to do like puppet shows for my aunt, and she would encourage me to, do these characters and laugh at them, cry for them, even if they weren't, whatever. When I was really young, and I always enjoyed that and imagination and moving into different characters and stuff. So I guess I kind of had been doing it my whole life to some extent. So yeah, it just felt natural.
Yeah, I mean, acting is not, I would imagine, necessarily, most parents or family, somebody, their child or whatever comes in and say, hey, I want to be an actor. They're like, okay, sure. Mm-hmm. So how did your mom or your relatives react to this idea that this was something you wanted to do?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to ask them. I imagine my family was like, well, you don't appear to be going anywhere else. So I guess this is your thing, because I didn't seem interested particularly in anything else. I didn't do very well in school. So I think they figured like, well, it's this or jail or something. I don't know. But because everyone supported me, they were just like, all right, you want to do this? Let's do it. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I support them now,
I don't know. You grew up in what, Victorville, right?
San Bernardino, Victorville. Yeah.
Right.
Riverside.
Be honest, I don't know shit about Victorville. I did see it has a rather unfortunate nickname, Victimville, right? I mean, that's what I read. Right?
Well, if you did know something about Victorville, I would be very intrigued.
Yeah. So tell me, what was Victorville like?
When we first moved there, we moved from San Bernardino, and it was a big desert, and we lived in a 2-story house, and I never even saw a 2-story house before, so I was like, whoa, there's stairs. And we thought we were rich, and we would very quickly find out that, no, we weren't. And the environment started to change rather quickly and become an influx of people that were moving from, I guess, bad parts of L.A. or different other parts of surrounding areas. And then crime started to go up, and it started to become a little bit more dangerous. And the neighborhood started changing very, very quickly and rapidly. Essentially, it's a high desert, so it's just very, very hot and very, very cold.
Mm. Were you ever attracted to, kind of that lifestyle of, you said the things around you started to change. Was that ever an attractive element to you at all?
Not at that point. When I was much younger, it was, because I felt, first of all, we lived in a very different environment. It was a very, how do you say, a shitty apartment complex with no money and no education, no one there. All the people did was fight and rob and steal and kill. And so living in that environment, I felt that I needed to be a protector for my family, or I needed to be the person that was going to fight, or the person that was going to be a foot soldier to make sure that no one came messing with our top ramen. So I would run out every day and actively engage and look for trouble, because I thought that that was what was to be, that I thought that was the good thing to do. I thought that was the right thing to do. And yeah, it was a bad environment, and it does. And I know now how much environment matters, because moving out of there really changed my perspective and gave me an opportunity to restart and look at things a little bit differently. And so I'm grateful for that. You know,
I read somewhere that you incorporate some of your family members like into your work in terms of, you know, what they were like, you know, almost imitating them to some degree. So who's a family member you incorporate in your work probably the most?
I don't know if I should say. It might take away from the magic. But yeah, there's somebody in mind. You know, the crazy people who, I mean, if you feel like there's someone who got a little tick or something, they always do this little weird thing, but you love them to death, you know? Those kind of people are always kind of good to look at, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but that's not a bad thing, because I would imagine that, other actors do probably similar things.
Sure.
You got to be able to visualize it, right? To some degree, right?
You connect to something.
Yeah.
Everything, inspiration's everywhere, you know? You might get it from a chair. You might get it from your uncle, your auntie, your dad, your mom, your lover. It's just everywhere, you know? I walk down the street in New York, and that's one of my favorite things to do, is just watch people. There's just so many characters. I've done that before, taking something from a character that I just saw walk into the bodega or going to get some pizza, and I'm like, that's going to be a part of this character. It's so
you sort of file it away. Like,
it's like bit. Boom, snapshot. That's because it's real and unique, and you can incorporate it and make it into something else. You know.
Was there anybody in your life like Darius?
Not really. I didn't even like Darius at first. When I first got the script, I was like, who the fuck is this dude?
What did you like about him?
He was just annoying. I just felt like it was just stupid. I didn't get him at first, but I started to understand him later, and then it made sense to me. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, boom. All right, I get it now. But yeah, it seemed to be two-dimensional, but I would be later introduced to just how many dimensions he had.
So how did you book that role?
Because I was at this, when you first start off in the business, they invite you to these like Hollywood parties, which is basically where they give you just like free liquor, and it's a bunch of people just meeting up to network and stuff.
That sounds kind of amazing, but okay.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. And so it's like a Rising Stars of Hollywood party, some random thing they invited me to, and I was pretty early in my career, so I went there, and then no one was dancing. I didn't know why no one was dancing. There's an open bar. So I was drunk, and I was on the dance floor dancing by myself, with myself, like as if I had a dance partner, though, as if we were sort of doing it, you know, tango or waltz or whatever. And Donald was tucked over in the corner and saw me doing this, and he realized that he found Darius.
So wait, drunk dancing by yourself led to you being Darius.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're auditioning and you don't even know it.
That's right, yeah. And then after that, he did ask me to then send in a tape, an audition for some stuff for Darius. And so I just did whatever I thought Darius would do. And then he was like, perfect. We're going to send another one, do another one for the network. So I did another one for the network. And then I got the role. I got the offer. When
he told you what the show is about, what did you think?
I thought that it was Atlanta, so it was black, and I was happy about that.
That's all you knew about it?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I knew. And it's centered around a rapper, Paperboy, which I liked because I rapped as well. So I was like, oh, cool. It's going to be like putting music with acting, which I've done since the beginning. So that was exciting, too. So
I've heard from other people, it's been rumored that kind of the show that FX thought they were getting was not the show that actually wound up, being obviously a huge hit. Is there, I don't know how much you know about that, if there's any truth to it.
I imagine, it's kind of hard sometimes, especially with stuff that like people don't understand as particular, like black music and like black struggle and black experience. Sometimes when you're dealing with a lot of different of these platforms, you have to teach them what it is, because there's such a history in cinema and on TV of like that not being there, so people not understanding what that is. And so you got to slowly but surely bring it in. Let them know, oh, yeah, we human too. It's just like, we're still human though. It's something, it's different, but it's still human. And we have to sometimes go through that exercise.
Because I would have just loved to have seen some of the executives' reaction when one of the episodes is about an invisible car. I would have just loved to have known how they would have been like, oh, we're going to put something about a invisible car on.
Well, at some point, FX and many others are being courageous enough to trust the artists that they put in a position to make the content. So I think they realize that Donald and others surrounding him as writers are onto something, and they kind of know what they're doing, so they kind of just sit back, and that's a beautiful thing about FX. They also provide that, and a lot of platforms don't, but they'll just let us kind of figure out our creative way to attack things and just let us go.
Well, there's a lot more I want to talk to you about. We got to take a quick break. The toughest part of this interview is coming up. I'm just warning you.
Okay.
All right. You don't really seem, I thought I'd use my tough voice. I thought you would have been a little more fearful, but you're like, yeah,
I'm
okay.
running out the room now.
No, it's not that bad, I promise. Definitely want to talk about Knives Out, Atlanta, and some of the other things that you have coming up. But the tough part of the interview is a question game I like to play with my guests. So just so you know, the fate of humanity depends on your answers. No pressure.
No pressure.
None at all. So we'll be back with more from Lakeith Stanfield. So we were talking about Atlanta before the break, and now I notice that Atlanta is now often the show cited when not only they talk about successful black TV shows, successful shows, period, but as being kind of an engine and kind of giving black creatives the courage to do something different. Like, these ideas have probably always been percolating, but seeing somebody successful at trying something really different has been very inspirational and aspirational to a lot of people. Do you all have a sense of that you don't just have a TV show, but you're creating kind of a legacy?
Well, I can say for me, I definitely have a sense now that there's much more meaning to the show than I initially thought, and that we sort of have this responsibility to be this beacon of what we are. I don't think we're trying to be anything in particular, but what we are is what we are. Like, that thing has to be what it is and it has to exist. So it can feel sometimes like we're cultivating something that's our own thing, and like outsiders don't really get into that yet, until we're providing it and engaged in that conversation together. But we're just picking up things in the environment as like antennas, and then just regurgitating it and through the world of Atlanta, so we can continue to have discussions about things, and open up. But so we don't take it seriously, but we do kind of understand that we have things that we could be talking about, or being the platform for certain discussions to have, or I don't know. It's hard to talk about, but yeah, it's kind of like we realize that we're doing something special now,
Did it feel that way, like when you first kind of started, or were you just like, oh, this is just a TV show? Or
no? Yeah.
At what point did you realize this was about something bigger than this just being a TV show?
I think for me, it was after the first season, and we were able to see once it was all out. Like, when I went to the premiere for the first season, I was in a room full of a bunch of people, and we're all watching this thing, and I'm just feeling the energy in the room, and I'm feeling like, wow, this is something that's actually gonna, it makes me feel how I felt when I first went to Atlanta, which was just like, whoa, everybody's black here, and they're in banks, and they're also like in the trap. Like, there's a bunch of different, and I feel like this represents that a lot. Like, I don't know, it's strange to talk about, but it definitely I had a visceral feeling to seeing it the first time. So I knew we were onto something special.
Teddy Perkins was about Michael Jackson, right?
I don't know.
That's You got to clear this mystery up.
I know. It's like, I don't know. I think the people that wrote, like all the writers that came together were inspired. It seems to me to be inspired by him and many other musicians, but I really don't know. That I'm still creeped out. So I don't know. I don't know about Teddy Bird.
Are you asked more about? I mean, again, you have an extensive resume, but are you asked more about Darius or Get Out? Like, what do people that run into Lakeith Stanfield at the grocery store, what are they most excited to talk to you about? Usually
it's Get Out, I think. I think that's the main thing. I think Darius is a close second, maybe. But yeah, usually people are just screaming "Get out" at me all day and trying to take photos and get me to get out.
I mean, you think you're still trapped? Or
oh yeah. I mean, because in the movie I'm still trapped, so and they just think it's so funny to like have a flash and put it in my face. Like they just think I'm kind of used to it now, but yeah, for a while it was annoying because like people. It's annoying.
Yeah, but I've said this to people. Whatever idea or whatever your opening line is when you see somebody famous, 500,000 people have thought of the same thing.
Yeah, they don't understand that.
Do you think you're the first one that walked up on Chadwick Boseman and did Wakanda Forever?
Right.
Like, really? You think you're the first one?
But they don't care, and it's an interesting thing, and I kind of understand it, and I'm like, okay, you're crazy. Cool. I mean, some people run up and they're really like genuinely cool and like, yo, I appreciate the work. The best people are the ones who come up and just like give a nod and keep it pushing. Right. I'm like, thank you. Now I want to be your friend. But the people that run up like, and you're eating and they're just like, hey man,
flashing your face.
Yeah, like, and then sometimes it can teeter the line of a little disrespect,
right?
Because you can just be in a normal situation and they have no regard for you or your life. It's just like you're this thing that I'm going to now shove my phone in front of and like get some likes on Instagram because of, and that's where you have a problem because now it's like, get the hell away. Now it's an issue, so it's like, I prefer the people who just respect your space and like, and if you sleep or something, don't come waking me up. Like if you see me at the airport nodding off, just let me get my rest, whatever. But yeah, I've had people like, I've literally been like eating in front of like someone that I love and this was in Atlanta. And someone just like dove across the table and be like, hey man, what's up? I'm like, yo man, I'm eating right now. Like you just fucked up the whole meal. Like, so,
I would imagine you're offered a lot of free weed.
Oh yeah, I have.
Okay, I just would guess so, just because Darius is known as a smoker that everybody's probably trying to
big bags several times
smoke weed with you. Yeah. But you don't smoke anymore.
No.
All right, but you used to work in a grow house, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't take them no more. I just give them to my friends. I mean, I take them, but I just give them to my friends. I'm like, oh, thank you very much. So everybody around me got free weed.
Oh, so they love hanging out with you.
Yeah.
So what made you stop smoking weed?
I think, well, the last time I smoked was on the set of Straight Outta Compton. And I was playing Snoop, and so
were you getting into character, or were you just smoking weed?
Yeah, I was getting into character. Okay. I was thinking Snoop would probably be high, so I'm gonna get high. And it was the worst decision in the world to make on set, but I didn't realize that. So I smoked this thing, and I'm just like sitting in the makeup trailer, and suddenly I start to wonder why I'm an actor, and why am I here, and what does this all mean, and this is the most meaningless job in the world, and I could be out there saving people and helping people, but I'm sitting here getting my hair done into weird styles and makeup put on me. And I went to this existential thing, and so I couldn't help but be distracted by my thoughts and be, in a scene, but thinking about intergalactic magic of Saturn or something. So I wasn't very focused, and I had to play Snoop, and everything was very weird. And I was talking to Ice Cube, and I'm like, why am I talking to Ice Cube right now? This is crazy. And so normally I would have been able just to get through it, but I was so high that I couldn't. And then we had to do this scene where I'm at the pool party, and I'm pouring champagne on these women. I'm supposed to be pouring it on their bra or their like chest area. I'm pouring it all on her face. I'm missing her. I'm just like, and so I realized I would never smoke again at that point, and I haven't since.
But when you worked at a grow house, you didn't smoke?
No, but that was before I did Straight Outta Compton. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So I would have.
Oh yeah, when I was there, I was smoking.
Like kind of used to it though, right?
Not really.
Okay.
The strains just keep getting stronger and stronger, and this one was just like took me to the moon, and I was supposed to be on set.
Did you smoke some of Snoop's weed?
It might have been something like that. It might have been. It probably wasn't as strong as his, but it did the job.
Yeah. Could they tell you were high?
You couldn't tell me. They couldn't tell. That's for damn sure. I was like, everyone knows. But the worst thing is when you get in your head, because then now I'm trying to be sober and do sober things, but I'm completely not doing sober things. No one moves like that naturally, you know. But yeah, I was like, no more for me.
So how did you get the job in the grow house?
Well, I wasn't doing anything else, and I need to find some way to make some money. And this guy I knew was just like, I am breaking all the walls in my house and creating a grow house. Why don't you come help me cultivate them and sell them? So I was like, all right. I went in and I was helping water him. He just had a bunch of rooms full of plants, and we watched them grow up. And it was really actually quite fun. You know, you get high there and just like talking to the plants, and it was a really calm thing. And it was a nice way to get away from home and just like have this chance to you know, go off into this other world. And to this day, I still keep a lot of plants around me because I think it made me see a different side of plants or something like that. Was just beautiful. You know?
I admire anybody who can grow plants and has that relationship with plants, because I got the black thumb. Like, they're dead around me. Like, I'm not, but I realized, to your point about kind of the symbolism of it, is I had to accept the fact I'm not a natural nurturer. And that's a big reason why I don't do well with plants. Probably also why I'm a cat person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
I actually like cats as well.
Yeah,
I'm a Leo. So.
Oh, you're a Leo. Okay. Yeah. Most presidents have been Leos. Lots of fun facts. I have useless facts. Yeah. Obama was a Leo. I think Bill Clinton.
I could tell Obama was a Leo. There's just something about him. I was like, that's, yeah.
To no one's surprise, Donald Trump is a Gemini. But at any rate.
I was about to ask, is he a Leo?
Nah, man. He's a Gemini. So enter all the Gemini jokes that people listening might be thinking. But yeah, no, I was like, I do bad with plants because of that. The reason I like cats, dogs require a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need a lot of affection. And
we do. No, I'm just kidding.
And cats are, I like the fact that you can feed a cat, you can, you know, obviously house a cat, take care of it, and they'll easily tell you to fuck off. Yeah. That's what I love about cats. Right. Like, they're just not here for fake love, if you will. And so I kind of like dig that spirit about them.
Yeah, and they'll leave and come back. Yeah. They'll go walk around the city a little bit, like independent minded. I quite love it as well. Yeah. And, you know, I wish I could have a pet, but I just feel.
Well, your schedule probably.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't want to do that to anybody.
Do you have any advice for me in terms of turning around my plant aura?
Well, no, to each his own. You know, it's like everybody can't be into plants. You know, it's like. But,
so wait, you could keep plants but not pets.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, well, the last place I lived, I lived in a jungle. I just had a whole bunch of trees planted around everywhere, like 30,000 trees, a koi fish pond. And I would have people that could come and water them and keep it up for me while I'm gone. But pets are a little bit more hands-on. You have to kind of like, it's different, you know, it's more like a baby. And so I don't know, maybe at some point I'll feel comfortable enough to get one once I get more situated in what this crazy schedule stuff is like, you know.
You strike me as somebody who obviously enjoys acting, but you don't necessarily enjoy the famous part. You maybe not enjoy it. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but what's sort of your mentality or philosophy about handling the fame part of it?
There's good and bad and everything. There have definitely been times where I've been able to enjoy, you know, just like skipping lines or different weird things that come with that, like
and getting free shit, right?
Free shit all the time, free food. They're different weird, which is weird for somebody that's already famous, but you know that's just how things work. And you know, when I'm on set, and you know, oftentimes when you're on set and you need like lunchtime, they want to skip you behind everybody. I really don't ever engage in that because I don't like that feeling of being like, oh, somehow you're special. But there are perks and things that come along with it that are nice. But overall, I think the most important thing is finding a way to keep your sanity in it, because it's a very weird thing to constantly be looked at. It's not a natural thing. And I think if anyone had the choice who is famous to not be, they probably would not be. But I guess that's just part of the game. So I try not to complain too much, because there's still so many gifts and things that come as a result of being in the position that I'm in. I guess it's just one of my burdens to carry. But there are many people who have many, many other burdens, and, so, yeah, I can't really be sitting up here being like, it's so bad to be famous,
No, I mean,
there are worse things.
I mean, you're right. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for somebody who is part of a hit TV show, has been in hit movies, but at the same time, there are problems and issues that come along with that I think people just assume just because you are famous that you might have a little bit more money that those other things go away, and they don't.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Even people in your own family sometimes think that, get it twisted and think because, and they don't even know really what's happening, but they're like, you see someone on the screen, automatically you're rich, and automatically you have access to all these different things. And people don't understand, like, most actors don't have money. Like 90% of actors don't have money. It's a small amount that are able to sort of get through and start to work and like actually be. And then once you work, you got to try and keep that money, because it's not promised. Your next job is not promised. Like, we're constantly trying to forge opportunities to continue to work and invest in other things, because you got to stay afloat. And this business is just not. It's just fickle. And so like, people don't really know the ins and outs of it all. But yeah, I mean, I could see how being on the outside looking in, that it's difficult to connect to sometimes, and it's difficult to connect to struggles that now are in a different place. But like for me, I was homeless before, so I've seen the struggle in all of it. And trust me, having money don't change everything, and it don't make you automatically be in a position to be content and happy at all times. Now, you may be able to eat, you know what I mean? Which is, of course, is a big thing, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to have access to eat. But once you get done eating, if you ain't got nothing else, you're still empty, if that makes sense. And mental health is always the most important, no matter what you got. And so, that's why I urge, like, finding peace and trying to find that balance in yourself, because all of this don't really mean nothing without that.
Now, you mentioned earlier in this podcast that you went through, Pierre, when you first started out, like you said, you got with that agent, you didn't book anything for 5 years. Have you ever come close to quitting, to saying, I don't really want to do this anymore, I don't know if it's worth it?
There were moments where I was frustrated and I might have said something like that, like, man, fuck this shit. But I think deep down, I never was going to give up, because it was just, that was my thing. And I knew, like, I was like, I'm going to show people one day that I can do this. Like, and it was just a knowing. Once you sort of situate yourself in knowing, you kind of become crazy, and you're going to keep going after it no matter what. And that's how I felt. Like, nothing was going to stop me. I was going to keep going. Like, even if I had to start from, I'd have to go from, like, I dig some clothes out the trash can and show up to the audition stinking. Like, I'm going to do something to break through here. So there was no doubt in my mind that, because there couldn't be. And once you're at that point, you have to kind of just go, Otherwise, because it's way too competitive and it's tough. So I think I got to the point where I just stopped caring about appealing to other people. So once I said, fuck it, like, I'm just going to go in and do my own thing, that's when I realized, oh, the key was in me the whole time. Like, it was already there, but I just didn't see it because I kept outsourcing my power. But once I realized, it's like, do what you feel like inside. They're going to see, like, and then once they see the truth in that, then it's a wrap.
Was there an audition or an experience that kind of flipped that? What was it?
When I auditioned for The Purge, Anarchy, which was a very early on, when I did. I didn't think I was going to get it. At that time, I was like, The Purge is this big, huge movie. Like, I'm never going to be able to be in a part of some crazy big box office movie. Fuck it. I'm just going to go in and do what I feel like doing. I mean, I took the script that they gave me and performed it, but I performed it in the way where I was, all inhibitions were down. I wasn't afraid. I was like, fuck it, let's go. Like, and when I did it, I looked up and I had the role. I was like, oh, shit. And that showed me from that point on that, like, oh, digging inside is the thing. Like, just let go of all your mind shit and just get in your body and go,
Now, I would imagine you probably use your instincts quite a bit when you're choosing roles. Is like what's your process when you determine, like, yeah, this is something I really want to do. This is something I don't really want to fuck with. Like, how do you use that kind of inner voice and you know, your instincts to determine that?
A lot of it is instinct. You know, just whether or not I connect to the story, really. Because there may be things that are attractive about a story that have nothing to do with me, like cast or like money or like other things that have nothing to do with why I might be connected to it. And I have to kind of always actively work to get away from all that bullshit and see what the real reason is and why am I here. And if that reason there is like really with it, like then it don't matter how much I might get paid. That's now. But before, I used to just be like, anytime something come, like, yeah, man, I'm in there. Like, let's figure it out. Let's make it happen. But yeah, as I've moved on, I've been fortunate enough to be in a position to have a little bit more discretion. And so now, if I can, I want to put things into the world that like means something or that might give an opportunity to touch somebody whose voice wasn't heard before or something like that. You know, try and do a little good, you know, where you can.
Have you turned down something that you regretted?
No, I don't really have regrets. I don't really do that. I just, whatever it is what it is, and then like I have to continue to pick up the blocks and keep moving. I might learn from something and be like, okay, well, in which I definitely have, but no regrets.
Mm-hmm. Have you, okay, maybe no regrets, but have you taken something maybe that you wished you hadn't or that you wish would have come later or you were a little uneasy about at all?
I imagine at some point there might. Yes, there was something at some point that I'd taken that was basically something that would give me a lot of money, and at that time I was like, oh my God, this would change things. Script's all right, fuck it, let's go. Like, and I would never do that again because being in that position was just like, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't fun. You know, it was just like, damn, you know, like this is not the kind of work I want to be doing. It wasn't anything bad, but it was just like I wasn't able to be creative in the way that I enjoy. So to me, it wasn't worth it at the end of the day, you know, because you just be sitting in the hotel room feeling like a sack of nothing, and that's not fun.
So what was it?
I can't say what it was.
I just wanted to see if you would tell me.
No.
You're like, nah, I'm not going to tell you. You mentioned that things have to mean something to you. I would say just based off the trailer that I've seen, y'all can have all my money. Of course, I love the trailer of the photograph. The looks like a romantic, you know, maybe Love Jones meets The Notebook type of movie that you have co-starring Issa Rae. Tell me how that project came about. It looks amazing.
Yeah, that was dope. It came through Stella. She reached out to me. Stella Maggie, who's the director. And yeah, it was just like a sweet love story. I've gone through a lot of stuff in love and relationships, and at the time I was going through something, and I was like, this couldn't have come at a better time because now I get to explore these things, and so it was dope. It came right on time, and I was like, yeah, we gotta do this. And who's in it? Issa? Perfect. Like, yeah, let's do it. You were a leading man, and sorry not to bother you, sorry to bother you. This is different because you're playing, you know, this is suave Lakeith, you know, you look suave in the trailer, you know, romantic guy and that kind of thing, a love story. So was that not necessarily a challenge, that's not the word I'm looking for, but was that part of the appeal to you that you're playing a leading man in kind of a whole different way? I think that was just a conscious choice to kind of just like do something different, you know, kind of like, you know, all those dudes I always imagine are just kind of weird. Like, I don't know, they're like, hey, baby, how you, woo, woo, bah, bah, how you feeling, girl? Yeah, woo, woo. To me, that's just another kind of act. You know what I mean? Like, but it's an interesting one that I think is kind of fun and funny. Like, you know, so I was like, yeah, this could be an opportunity to just do that version of whoom, whoom.
I hope that's not your rap, man.
No. You know, it's not. It's much better than that in the movie. But the thought is that, you know, I thought it'd be fun, you know, to explore it.
Was I imagine too the idea of doing a black love story.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, it had to be.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole thing.
Because we haven't kind of seen that in a while.
Yeah. And it was a black love story that ain't about all that. extra, like, I don't know, being packaged as something else. You know, it's just like anybody could have been in love there, and love is just that, you know. And that's how it is for us. We just loving out here, you know, and it takes many different forms. So it's nice to just do one that was just like, boom, you know, that's this like natural love. You know what I mean?
Now, you said you were going through something at the time. What was it that you brought from your personal experience into this role?
Everything that I learned, all the new steps that I learned to take and how to navigate it, and you know, after being honest with myself and having those discussions, like, I guess what it really did was allow me to receive the material in a real way, because I had been through the things already. So I was like, all right, cool, yeah, I know exactly what that's like. Oh, yeah, and that part right there, okay, yeah. And then you could just, you know, do what you will with that.
Another project you're linked to is the Fred Hampton biopic, right?
Yeah, I just did that one.
Okay. Ryan Coogler directed?
Ryan Coogler produced it.
Produced it.
Yeah, Shaka King directed.
So how did you get in line with that one?
Well, Shaka had been putting together the story with the Lucas brothers for a while, and for years. But they said that they had written it with me in mind the whole time, which I didn't realize. But he just called me up and was like, yo, we're doing a story about Fred Hampton. I want you to be in it. I'm like, what? I can't wait to play Fred. He was like, no, I want you to play William O'Neill. And I was like, are you talking about it? He's like, yeah. Send me the interview. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I could do this, man. Like, come on. Like, I was like, you know me. Like, I'm the furthest thing from some William O'Neill. He's like, yeah, but like, you know, let's just, I think. So he sent me the script. After I read the script, I was just crying for hours. Like, and I'd never been affected by a script like that, where it was just like so beautifully tragic and powerful. So after a long time, I was like, damn, all right, I'll do it. And so I do. So I went, did William O'Neill with Daniel Kaluuya. He plays Fred Hampton.
Oh, wow. Another one, Take All My Money. So what is success in this industry, which you have now experienced a lot, did it look like, or does it feel like you expected it to feel?
In some ways, I really don't even know what success really means in that capacity. Like, for me, like, success is just like being happy and having my family feel good, us feeling right, us having a nice Christmas instead of a Christmas where it's like we fighting and throwing things. You know, to me, that's like, yeah, those are the pinnacles of it. I don't know, because it's constantly revealing itself. Yet, if I feel like I'm reached a success, I feel like there's so much more I want to do, so much more I want to explore, so much more I can give. And so, yeah, I think I'm still like on that route to doing that. I think I'm always going to be there. It can always be bigger. It can always be more in terms of what I can give. So, you know, I guess like being success is just opening up my horizons to be able to grow, you know.
Are you still finding time to do your music?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's the Moors coming along?
I'm working on an album right now. This is, that'll be coming out soon. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that real soon. Now,
of course, because, you know, I like to do my research. We do have a track, or a little bit from a track, that we're going to play that I'd like for you to explain. I know the backstory behind it, but there's some people that might not necessarily. But you released a track, Automatic, where you took some shots, you know, at Charlemagne, kind of called him a minstrel or whatever. We have a little sample from it, so we're going to play some of Automatic.
Okay.
You won't hear it. They'll add it in post, but you know what the sound is like. I know. So you out here cutting, not necessarily hit him up, but you out here with the strong diss track. So I know that there was some back and forth between you and Charlemagne about Black media, and particularly some of the material that you criticize that appears on The Breakfast Club, and not just The Breakfast Club, but other Black media outlets, which, at least from what I took to, based off your comments, you feel like they traffic in negativity of Black stereotypes.
Right.
So what motivated you to take it from beyond just a conversation into a record?
Well, actually, the record Automatic was written years ago, after my first appearance on The Breakfast Club. in which I sort of indicated or felt at that time that even early on that there were just some spaces that weren't available to black men or black people that certain constituencies don't understand. One of those being the Breakfast Club. I felt that they made an active sort of effort to try to delegitimize and ostracize me on that show the first time. And I thought that that was quite ignorant and cowardly. So automatic when I made that song, that song is really not a diss song, actually. It's a song about being unhinged and doing things automatically and just acting in the chaos of life. But Charlemagne's mentioned briefly as a metaphor for fear-based action, because I felt at the time that that's what he was doing. And after that, I was just working on the song, and then he releases another interview after I made the comments about many other platforms, not him in particular, but the platforms and all of them. I made those comments. So then he goes on another rant. So then I'm like, well, this is a good opportunity for me to release this record that just happens to mention him. And why not make the artwork something that might reflect what's happening at the time? So I just was like, it was just like a funny little thing for me. I just put his face on there, slapped it on there, dropped it. It was nothing really ever serious for me, but it was just funny. And I thought it couldn't be happening at a better time when I was working on a movie that's going to talk about these kinds of things, loyalty to one's race, loyalty to one's constituency. So yeah, it was just a funny little moment for me.
What's your perspective on the relationship between black celebrities and black media?
I don't know. It depends on what particular thing we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like, it's a lot of ignorance out there. There's a lot of bullshit in the air. There's a lot of places that like to traffic bullshit and like to hold up bullshit. Like you just mentioned in that, like drama, that type of shit sells, and like that's what people want to do, and that's fine. But I'm saying that there are a lot of different opportunities where we could do less of that, and some people could scale back and have an opportunity to also provide platforms for things that are more positive and uplifting or different for us. If you only showing that negative shit, that's when I got a problem. So when I'm talking about them other places like Shade Room and all them, all y'all do, y'all know that's what you do. Like, it ain't nothing new to nobody. We know all y'all do is shell out bullshit for the most part. And while I would say the Breakfast Club don't only do that, I feel like their preoccupation, especially with black men they don't understand sometimes, is in a negative light in the conversation. So that's all that is. But I ain't telling them nothing they don't know. So for him to be acting like it's all some big old attack, I mean, come on, it's not. And I think it's readily available to all of us, and we understand that we could all do a little bit better in the media and the representation and how we represent ourselves. And that's all I'm asking people to do. Just take a step to have a little bit more responsibility in what you do.
Do you think it's an imbalance? Because I feel as if I've made this point, before about, let's just take BET, for example, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of, and has been a lot of, they get criticized a lot, right, for some of the programming. And I see people on social media ripping on BET, like, why don't they have this? Why don't they have that? I was talking to somebody over there, and one of the franchises that they turned down was Love and Hip Hop, right? Mm. Full disclosure, I watch Love and Hip Hop. I think it's fucking entertaining, right? But, I watch a lot of other programming, so I feel like there's a balance there. But they turned it down in part, at least from what this person inside of BET told me, is because they worried about how the community would react. Mm-hmm. Now, VH1 is, I think VH1 and BET are owned by the same company, right? Mm. And we don't have none of that smoke for VH1. Mm. But I know if BET would have put it on, we would have had all the smoke for them, saying, how could you, and da-da-da-da-da. And so sometimes I wonder, are we too hard on ourselves for things that we ultimately would consume anyway, right? Wouldn't it be better to consume it on a program, theoretically, that is BET, that is employing a lot of black people, and does have counterbalance programming? BET they tried to have a nightly news. Mm-hmm. Y'all didn't watch it. Right? It's like there's a lot of efforts to have these programming, but if that is not where the marketplace is, then what's sort of the counter solution to that?
I think, first of all, anytime you see an injustice anywhere that is actively seeking to generalize or shed a negative light on somebody, you should call it out. And that should happen ubiquitously across the board. It just so happens the more things that black people tend to run into is the type of things that they consume. So that's naturally what they might be more concerned with. And I think, like, you know, really, like, you know, these platforms that claim to be these bastions of blackness, like attaching hip hop to your name as if that means you're representing blackness or whatever you might be doing, those need to be the ones that are the ones that are focusing on actually diversifying their material. All these other platforms are just reflections of American society, which we already know don't give a damn. So, I mean, that's another aspect of it. Like, there are a lot of them, you know, like, to put that responsibility on them, it's clear they don't care. Like, come on, we already know that. And if they do something actively that let me know that they don't, I will be on the forefront of that too. But I'm talking about active things that I'm observing and seeing and feeling and actually are involved in. And I'm saying that we need to hold everybody that are in those positions to them standards and to just do and be better. And, you know, I don't feel like, you know, pointing to white organizations or establishments and saying like, oh, they do it too, is taken away from the original point. Because, of course, I'm aware of that. If I'm aware of you doing it, I'm aware of them doing it. And when I see it, it shall be addressed, you know, period.
Well, it's just that I think it's seen differently, you know, by us, because I think sometimes we can get a little too sensitive about what other people think about what goes on in our race. I always say this, especially because I realize from a generational standpoint, there are people, say like my mother's age and older black people in their, you know, 60s and 70s, 50s through 70s, I would say, who look at, understandably so, some of the content that's out there and say, what in the fuck is this? You know? But as I often, you know, kind of like to say to them is that some of it is that you're worried about what everybody thinks about black culture, not realizing those same people gonna think that whether we're doing that or not.
Right.
Like, they're not gonna change how they view us if they see all of us walking around in suits and ties.
Right, sure.
Because as, you know, as what always strikes me when they play footage or when we see, you know, older video footage of some of the race riots and some of the horrible images of, say, the police sicking dogs and turning, you know, water hoses on black people, a whole lot of them was dressed nice.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Right?
Sure, totally.
So, it, you know, sometimes one is not necessarily related, you know, to the other. I will say I'm okay with ratchet. I just need balance. That's all.
That's all. That's all you're saying. Yeah.
And I will say, I do think the Breakfast Club does have a lot more balance. And I do understand that because of the appetite of how people like to consume things, sometimes the more confrontational interviews and the ratchetness, that stuff tends to go viral.
Right.
I fully understand that. But when you think about like platforms of that size, that are able to have the variety of interviews, it's really kind of nothing like it. And so I understand your criticism, but I do think they probably have more balance than they're given credit for.
And I'd agree with you. I'd say that they, out of the ones that were listed, the ones that I talked about, they probably have the most balance. Still, I think they could have more, but they probably do have more balance than some of them other ones. But yeah, you know, I'm not asking anybody to show only people in suits and ties. Like, come on, that's not what I'm saying at all. Only thing I'm saying is, like, not even actively what you showing, but the things that you foist up and hold up as like, these are the things that are like, you know, come on now, some of it's ridiculous. Like, and all I'm saying is, it irritates me to see it. I don't give a damn about how it might look to all these other, when I'm, and which is why I don't even follow none of them, because it's like, if you don't want to see it, you could just stop watching, but also it's like, damn, y'all could also like curate a little bit better, you know, and that's just my opinion. You know, I'm just like, and when I come across and all I see is negativity, just like, damn. So I felt inspired to be like, all of y'all do a little bit better. That's all.
All right. Well, before we get you out of here, that game is coming. It's now finally here. Like,
let's do it.
You've been waiting on this whole time.
Man,
I know you've been sweating.
Depending on this moment.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for this or that. It's very simple. Okay. I give you two choices.
All right.
You can only pick one. Don't invent a third choice. There's no third choices.
Okay.
Okay? You have to pick one.
All right.
Okay? Now, I understand you're fluent in Marvin Gaye. Is this true?
I wouldn't say fluent, but I do love me some Marvin Gaye.
I know you love you some Marvin Gaye. So, first this or that. Trouble Man or what's going on?
Trouble Man.
I like how definitive you were with that. See, you're off to a good start already. Ain't nothing but a G thing or gin and juice.
Ain't nothing but a G thing.
Reese Cups or Snickers?
Reese Cups.
Dear Mama or Brenda's Got a Baby?
Dear Mama.
Better Darius line. I don't know, man. I like Flow Rider. I mean, moms need to enjoy rap too. Or I think if we spent the time we spent thinking about not spending money, spent that time on spending money, then it'd be time well spent.
The spent line, because that's me.
Was that an ad-lib?
Yeah.
Where the hell did you get that from? Where the hell did you get that from?
Oh, just the ether.
It just like popped in your mind?
Mm-hmm. And with the context of everything. But
right. Gee, that's frightening. Grammy or Oscar?
Oscar, obviously, I guess for me.
Well, you're into music,
I
so
know, but...
you're a musician. All right. And finally, though I realize you probably have not experienced either in a while.
Wait, I'm going to go back to Grammy.
Okay.
Let's switch that one.
All right. You want to switch it?
Yeah, because, music, never mind. Grammy.
Grammy. All right. And finally, blunts or bongs?
Bongs.
You're more of a bong man than a blunt man. Okay.
Because I can't roll them. It's never good at rolling them. So I'm just like, just put it in the bowl. Make it easy.
I just have to say, this is the most comfortable I've seen anybody doing this or that. Everybody always wrangles their choices. Like, you were decisive. You knew.
Yeah.
That's that's very admirable.
Are we done?
That's it.
I wanted to do more.
You want to do? Okay, I'll ask you. I'll give you a bonus one.
Okay.
Dear Mama or Brenda's Got a Baby?
You asked me that one.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Did I? Oh, I thought I asked you Ain't Nothing But a Jeep thing.
You asked me both.
I did. See, I don't have a bonus
you gave
one.
me an extra one already.
No.
All right. That's
I already gave you the extra one. But nevertheless, you played this game exquisitely. Might I say you were the best?
Thank you.
It's no disrespect to anybody else who's done it. They just, you ask people you tell them they have one decision to make, and
no one likes choices.
No one does. But you apparently excel at this.
Hey.
Listen, I want to thank you so much for dropping by here, spending your time. You're
you.
a little bit under the weather. Your voice held up, though, the whole time. So,
the tease. Thank you very much.
I look forward to the photograph, certainly the Fred Hampton biopic, and congratulations on the success of Uncut Gems. It seems like that caught a lot of people by surprise, but it's one of the more thrilling movie. In the end, I was like, oh, my God. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
right?
crazy.
Don't want to spoil it for y'all, but the ending is like amazing.
Go see it. It's crazy.
Go see it. The ending is amazing. So thank you, Lakeith. Good luck with everything. So Lakeith is getting out of here, but y'all know what's coming up next. Fuck it, Unbothered.